Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are we all doing here on this Wednesday morning? This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Morning Reganelite and Prime Minister's Questions, which we'll be covering here on this live stream here today. Hope you guys are all doing well. So, for those who are new to this live stream, and just to let you know what I normally do at the we do an hour long of Good Morning show, where we look at the day's daily quota, we look at the local weather, and then we have a look at see what the media is kind of saying, what news stories that they have for us today, and we're going to go from there into Prime Minister's Questions at 12 o'clock. We'll go into that, and we will cover. I believe it's the final Prime Minister's Questions before Christmas. I think this is the last one. Could be wrong. I believe it's the last one, or maybe next week's is. But I will definitely not be covering next week's, that is for sure, because next week I will be in Manchester. So there'll be no live streams next week, Wednesday, that is for sure. So I'll probably be going about an hour and a half to 2 hours long, probably roughly around about that. That's probably how long we are going to go today. Good morning, Matty von Eric and Graham there lurking in the chat, and anybody else who may be lurking in the chats as well. Right, let's get going because we've only got an hour before Prime Minister's Question. We want to switch over before it starts. So here is today's daily quota here for the 10th of December there. Here it is there. And it is by Charles Dickens, this quota here, guys. And like I say, if you would like one for yourself, you can get one at littlepennythoughts.com. Link for it is in the description. So here's today's daily quota for the 10th of December. Have a heart that never hardens, and a temper that never tires, and a touch that never hurts. Have a heart that never hardens, and a temper that never tires, and a touch that never hurts. That's a nice one. I like that one. That's a very nice one there. It's a very nice daily quota there. For those wondering why I wasn't on Graham Hughes' live stream or on Dave McGuinness's, I had housework to do. I needed to get it done before the live stream. That's essentially the crux of it. So yeah, housework got to get done, guys. If people want to know why I wasn't there for the live streams, there's quite a long one for tomorrow, guys. A very long one for tomorrow. Interesting indeed. Scott Hayes, Leapskin, and Stephen Baker. Good to see you all. Hope you guys are all doing well. Good to see you all in the chat. Let's have a look and see what the weather is saying for us today, guys. There is our big, beautiful planet. This is... Wait, let me just put that there. There it is, our planet. You've got your fair share of snowstorms and rain showers and whatnot, but that is what we have here. Zoom in a little bit here. These are some of the temperatures that they are forecasting there. Always like to look at Yellowknife. Negative 26. Woo! New York 7. Ottawa 3. San Francisco 11. Miami 26. Mexico City 19. As you can see, some of the temperatures have not changed in some parts of the world. And got some summertime in Australia there. Sydney 21. Darwin 26. Perth 21. Philippines 27. Beijing 0. Tokyo 4 there. Colombo 24 there, New Delhi 12, Saudi Arabia's Riyadh there, 22 there. Our good friends up in Iceland at Chile 4 degrees there. There's quite a snowstorm out in the ocean there, we can see there. Murmansk -7 as well. Let's have a look and see what is happening in terms of temperatures in Europe today, guys. So it looks like most of Europe is... getting some, we'll get some showers, but most of it is going to be dry. Most of Europe is going to be dry today, guys, from the looks of it. Madrid 9, 14 for Lisbon. Rome 10, Nice 13, Jaria 10, Athens 13, Istanbul 9, Bucharest 5, Zagreb 5, Bern 6, Vienna 6, Prague 9, Chistu 6, Kiev 5, Warsaw 9, Berlin 11, Moscow 1 there, Riga 8 there. 8 and 6 there as well, and we got Oslo there at 5, St. Petersburg 3. Got some big snowstorms up the north, as you would expect around this time of year as well. And Paris and Brussels 11 and 11 degrees there as well. As for the UK itself, I said yesterday, I'm pretty sure some of you guys might be still experiencing those high winds up in Scotland because that storm hasn't dissipated yet. I did say that was going to be still going on, but temperatures at the moment from the looks of it here, not too bad. I've been out for my walk this morning And don't lose that note, please. I need that. You can see there that you can see from the high winds there that they're still experiencing it up in Scotland, but obviously we're not feeling it down here where I am. But you can see temperatures are around 11, 9, 10 degrees in most parts. Yeah, later on today, so it's not too bad again. But later on in the evening, going into the next day, there you can see those showers are still going to be around there. Jeanette, good morning to you. Hope you are doing well. Yeah, so some of those forecasts of rain still going to be around for a while, but going overnight into Thursday morning, some of that was going to dissipate. So overnight on Thursday, it's expected to be the winds will start dying down. You can see some of the winds are dying down there. Temperatures not going to be a bit chilly, but not as chilly as some of the days that we've experienced already here. 8, 7, 9 degrees there in some parts on Thursday morning here. But moving into Thursday morning here, we're not going to experience any rain just yet. It's literally one of those calm before the storm moments there. Ireland's going to get hit around about 12 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, it looks like they've broken. Looks like they broke the map there, BBC. Well done there. And yeah, Thursday evening, pretty much late Thursday afternoon, evening, parts of Scotland, parts of Wales will start experiencing that rain, but Ireland's going to be experiencing it most of the morning and afternoon there. We can see it 9, 8 degrees. Temperature's not going to be too bad. And again, winds aren't going to be too bad either there. You can see some of those temperatures and wind marks there. It's not going to be too bad. Going into Thursday evening, that rain is going to come through overnight pretty much. So parts of Wales, parts of Scotland are going to experience it in that overnight. Quite chilly, very much 5 and 5 in Belfast, Dublin there. But for the rest of the UK, Manchester 10, London 10, Cardiff 9, Edinburgh 8 there, going overnight into Friday morning there. Yeah, so Friday morning there is going to be still some of that rain, but it's going to be quite chilly. Temperatures are really dropping. The temperatures really drop overnight on Thursday night to Friday morning in some parts of the UK. There you can see Edinburgh dropping as down as 5 degrees. Belfast, Dublin 4 and 6, but those temperatures look like they may come back up a little bit there on Friday morning. Cardiff 10, London 12, Manchester 9, Dublin 9, Belfast and Edinburgh 7 respectfully there. Moving into Friday evening there, looks like few scattered showers here and there, but most of it will have cleared up by then. And then we'll just have a quick look at Saturday again. So you can see those temperatures overnight on Friday into early Saturday morning, overnight Friday. You can see those temperatures are going to drop again. So where I am is definitely going to get colder over the weekend. But later on Saturday, temperatures are expected to rise back up again. There's a big, lovely rainstorm coming in, another storm coming in. Looks like it's going to be coming in on Saturday over the weekend there. It's going to hit Ireland and then it's going to hit parts of Scotland there Saturday evening. And then, yeah, Saturday overnight into Sunday morning there, that rainstorm's going to be coming in. But temperatures are not going to be too bad from the looks of it there. So temperatures are not too bad. 11, 11, 12, 12, 12. Again, we shouldn't be really that warm really for around this time of the year, but that's what we're going to be experiencing there overnight there. So those are some of the temperatures that we are going to be experiencing, guys, the next couple of days there. So for my friends up in north, those winds will calm down later on today and tomorrow. It will start to calm down. We will get some dry spells tomorrow before more rain is expected to come in the future. No sign of any snow, guys. There doesn't look like there'll be any sign of any snow coming anytime soon, just for reference there as well. Viper Scott, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Avani Lamb as well. Alex Adams. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone. I think I said hello to Jeanette earlier. If I didn't say hello, good to see you guys all. Hope you guys are all doing well. So we'll have a look at some. Like I said, guys, we're going to go into Prime Minister's questions at 12 o'clock or just before 12, so we'll cover as much as we can. I want to cover a bit of world news as well as UK news, so we'll kind of switch between the two. So I want to start with the Associated Press here. So Trump has once denied using his slurs about Haiti and African nations, and now he boasts about it. So he also has here that Trump's speech on combining inflation turns grievance about immigrants from filthy countries. Trump's crackdown on immigration is taking its toll on childcare workers. Democrat wins Miami mayor race for the first time in nearly 30 years. 30 years, wow. Democrat Ellen Eleanor Higgins has won the Miami mayor race on Tuesday, defeating a Republican endorsed by President Donald Trump to end her party's nearly 3-decade losing streak and give Democrats a boost in one of the last electoral battles ahead of the 2026 midterms. Wow, this is quite extraordinary. 30 years, 30 years as well. Higgins, 61, will be the first woman to lead the city of Miami. She spoke frequently in the Hispanic majority city about Trump's immigration crackdown, saying she has heard of many people in Miami who were worried about family members being detained. She campaigned as a proud Democrat despite the race being officially non-partisan and beat Trump-backed candidate Elio Gonzalez, a former city manager, who said he called Higgins to congratulate her. Quote, "We are facing rhetoric from elected officials, and it is so dehumanizing and cruel, especially against immigrant populations," Higgins told the Associated Press after her victory speech. The residents of Miami were ready to be done with that. With nearly all votes counted on Tuesday, Higgins led by Republicans by about 19 percentage points. Local race is not predicted of what may happen at the polls next year, but it drew attention from two major national political parties and their leaders. The victory provides Democrats with some momentum heading into high-stakes midterm elections when GOP is looking to keep its grip in Florida, including in a Hispanic majority district in Miami-Dade County. The area has shifted increasingly rightward politically in recent years, and the city may become the home of Trump's presidential library. Tonight's result is yet another warning sign to Republicans that voters are fed up with their out-of-touch agenda and the rising costs, says Ken Martin, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. It's in a statement. This is huge, especially when it's 30 years is a long time. That is very good signs indeed. Yeah, let's hope it's more. Let's hope we see more of that. In 2027 in the run-up to the midterms. I don't know how many other elections are going to be taking place between now and the midterms next year, but it's another good sign that people are not buying what Trump is giving. One thing Donald Trump is keeping, one of the things that are keeping Republicans happy is his immigration policy is definitely winning over a lot of MAGA supporters. However, the cost of living and people's livelihoods, they're not feeling better off. And people will start getting frustrated by that as time goes on. They will there. That is for sure. Egypt and Iran complain about planned World Cup Pride match in Seattle. Okay, not sure what that's about. Lord, you notes to self, keep your momentum. FBI slower overnight. Hegseth tells congressional leaders he's waiting release of boat strike video. They'll probably alter it. U.S. military flies 2 fighter jets over the Gulf of Venezuela as scrutiny grows. What a reporter found when she investigated U.S. military strikes on Venezuelan drug boats. Venezuelan opposition leader Marina Cossola Machado will miss Nobel Peace Prize ceremony. So we find just more teasing from the U.S. military. The U.S. military flew a pair of fighter jets over the Gulf of Venezuela yesterday in what appeared to be the closest American warplanes have come to the South American airspace since the start of the Trump administration's pressure campaign. Public flights tracking websites show a pair of U.S. Navy A-18 fighter jets fly over the Gulf, a body of water bound by Venezuela and only about 150 miles at its widest point. And spent more than 30 minutes flying over the water. A U.S. defense official confirmed that the pair of jets conducted a routine training flight in the area. The officials spoke on conditional autonomy to discuss sensitive military operations. Could not say if the jets were armed, but note that they stay in international airspace during their flight. The official likened the training flight to previous exercises that were aimed at showing the reach of U.S. planes and said the move was not meant to be proactive. The military has previously sent B-52 Stratofortress and L-1 Lance bombers to the region, but those planes flew up and along the coast of Venezuela. There was no indication that those aircraft ever flew close to the country's territory, as the FA-18 fighter jets on Tuesday. I've said this before and I've said this again. For those who haven't heard me say it, Trump is going to go to war with Venezuela when the election, either the midterms or the presidential election comes around, because he knows the clock is ticking on him. I generally think that's going to be their way of getting out of it is by going to war with Venezuela. Generally think that. Israeli army takes journalists into a tunnel in the Gaza City as it's sieged and largely flattened. Yeah, but is that an independent journalist or is that another Israeli one? One by one, the soldiers squeezed through a narrow tunnel entrance to a tunnel of southern Gaza inside dark hallway. Some boulder heads. On Monday, Israel's military took journalists into Rafka, the city of Gaza's southernmost point in troop siege, largely flattened. Israel has banned international journalists from entering Gaza for more than 2 years, except for a rare brief visit supervised by the military, such as this one. Soldiers escorted journalists inside the tunnel, which they said was one of Hamas's most significant and complex underground routes, connecting cities of the Indian battle technology and used by top Hamas command centers. Israel said Hamas had kept the bodies of a hostage in the underground passage. Hali Golden, a 23-year-old soldier who was killed in Gaza more than a decade ago, who remains have been held here. Well, it's still, you're still not allowing international journalists to kind of just roam around, aren't they? They're still not. Heather Saxon, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, but I saw your generous super chat you gave on Sunday. Thank you so much for that, for the good news video. It's very generous of you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I normally do a good news video every Sunday. So thank you so much for that super chat you gave on Sunday. There, I really appreciate it. It was very kind of you. Hope you are doing well. Riviette's image of faith and spirituality. 30 of AP's best religion foes. Aha! It starts as well, guys. So the social media ban for children under 16 starts in Australia. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese welcomed the world's first social media ban for children younger than 16 that took effect today, as families are taking back power from tech giants, but warned the implementation would be difficult. Many children posted farewell messages, while parents reported disgruntled children discovering that they'd been shut out of the platform and a landmark law took effect. Some young children reported falling the platform's age estimation technology by drawing on facial hair. Parents and older siblings are also expected to help some children circumvent the restrictions. This is the day when Australian families are taking back power from these big tech companies, and they're asserting the rights of kids to be kids and for parents to have a greater peace of mind, Albanese told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. This reform will change lives for Australian kids, allow them to just have their childhood. For Australian parents, enable them to have a greater peace of mind. But also for the global community who are looking at Australia and saying, well, if Australia can do it, why can't we? Albanese Lever told the gathering of reform supporters at his official Sydney residence, including a parent who blamed social media for a child's suicide. Facebook, Instagram, Kik, Reddit, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, X, YouTube, and Twitch face fines up to 49.5 million Australian dollars from Wednesday if they fail to take up reasonable steps to remove the accounts of Australian children younger than 16. The ban will be enforced by Australia's e-safety commissioner, Jill Limon-Grant. She says the platforms already has the technology and personal data about their users to enforce the age restriction with precision. She would send the 10 target platforms on Thursday notice demanding information on how the age restriction was being implemented and how many accounts have been closed. We will provide information to the public before Christmas on how these age restrictions are being implemented and whether preliminaries will see them working, Imran Grant says. The response to these notices will form the baseline against which we'll measure the compliance, she added. Communications Minister Wells said the age-restricted platforms may not agree with the law and that's their right, but we don't expect 100% universal support. But that all had undertaken to comply with Australian law. She said more than 200,000 TikTok accounts in Australia have already been deactivated by Wednesday. Wells also warned young children who so far evaded detection that they would eventually be caught. A child who uses a virtual private network to appear in Norway could be caught out if they were routinely posting images of Australian beaches, Wells said. Just because they might have avoided detection today doesn't mean that they will be able to avoid it in a week's time or a month's time, just because social media platforms will have to go back to routinely checking under 16 accounts, Wells said. These social media platforms have so much data on us because we chose to give it to them. Because we like social media and because we have had your older brother scan their face for you today, which has bought you a bit of time. That doesn't mean that these accounts aren't going to see you talking to other 14-year-olds tonight. About the under 16 soccer carnival on the weekend, about your upcoming school holidays, about what your 10-year teacher is next year, she added. Albanese says the implementation will be difficult and won't be perfect. This is about, importantly, pushing back against big tech, saying the social media companies have a social responsibility, he said. Well, we're going to have to wait and see how this does. We're going to have to wait and see how this does. It's going to be very fascinating to see how it does, guys. There's a part of me that is generally, I don't want something like this in the UK because I just think that kids are going to try and find a ways around it. And the Australian government obviously is saying there that they know it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be flaws. But I think this will really make us think about, if Australia can make this work, like generally if they make it work, I think, yes, it will be something that maybe other nations may take on board. I think we need to look very carefully at the data on it over the next weeks and months and see how it affects children in Australia. It's going to be very difficult for them to manage this. The thing is that, yes, if there are kids that will want to go on, they'll want to go on. But there'll be some kids that just can't, that it'll be too much of a hassle for them. So many of them will just turn to other things. But we'll definitely keep an eye on it. I do think it's worth looking into. I'm kind of sitting on the fence because a part of me is like I want to protect kids, but at the same time I don't want to ban them outright either. Anything else here? Ukraine Zelensky's in Provincia mid-flight to get his message out of whirlwind Europe trip. The Senate head towards dual partisan vote on healthcare, which with each likely to fail. Zelensky reaffirmed his refusal to cede land to Russia as he rallies European support. Two Democrats, two strategies. Texas Senate race shows party split on Trump focusing midterm election. Southeast Asia embraces offshore wind power as Trump bashes renewable energy. Yeah, sorry, Trump. Not everyone's going to be on board with the oil and gas sector. I'm just saying, man. Just saying, we're not all going to be on board with it. I know you are, but not everyone else is. Let's have a look and see what the BBC is saying here. Kids will just change their birth year. Some of it requires video ID as well, and they like some kids will be able to get away with it. Some kids will be able to get away with it. Others will not. I wonder if parents actually help their kids avoid it. I wonder if the parents are going to face fines as well. I imagine they may well do here. Why are American troops being stationed here in Scotland? Did I have an American base in Scotland? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the answer to that. Someone in the chat can answer that for me. It'd be appreciated. Good morning, Ange. How are you? It's good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. And Jesus there with Starmer starts their speech. Starmer Spears already. I don't know what you're talking about there, Jesus. There. PMQs is not till 12 o'clock, just in case you're curious. So it's not until 12 o'clock, Prime Minister's questions. Right, let's have a look and see what the BBC are saying here, guys. I had a look at this a little bit. I'm going to have a look at this later if I get a chance, because I do want to listen to it. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says there were too many links before the budget. She's speaking to the Select Committee literally as we speak. So I will listen to that later. That'd definitely be interesting to see what he said in that. Prime Minister urges European leaders to reform human rights law to tackle illegal migration. Look, I really cannot make this more clear, right? It doesn't matter whether you change the human rights laws, whether you leave the ECHR or not. You're still going to get migrants coming. You are still going to have migrants coming. They're still going to come from Africa, from Middle East, from Asia, from different parts of the world. You can't stop migration. Okay? You just can't stop migration. And this idea that if we just trickle around if we change the human rights laws and whatnot, that'll mean we can finally stop all the migrants. No, they're still going to get in the boats. They're still going to travel. They're still going to come. I've always said that if you want to reduce global migration, if you want to stop migration coming into the UK or stop it coming anywhere, if you want to reduce global migration, you've got to help the nations that are struggling. Sudan, Sudan is a prime example. Like, I spoke a little bit about this yesterday, and for those who didn't know, right, for those who don't know, Sudan is in the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet right now. Bigger than Gaza, bigger than Ukraine. The worst humanitarian crisis. Yeah? Millions of people are getting slaughtered in that country by the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. Over 25 million people are suffering from malnutrition in that country. 25 million. Millions of people have already been displaced. Millions have been displaced. Some have fled the country because of the atrocities that have been occurring since the war erupted in mid 2023, April 2023. It's the worst humanitarian crisis, and you don't hear nothing from the mainstream media about this. You know, Trump keeps talking about peace, but yet he talks about he wants to end the war in Ukraine, yet he says nothing about what's happening in Sudan. It says a lot about him, doesn't it? Fast lane nuclear sub base, says Ange there. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Appreciate it, Ange. Ellie, good morning to you. I hope you are doing well. So Keir Starmer has urged European leaders to reform the human rights laws to make it easier to deport illegal migrants ahead of the crucial talks on potential shake-up of the European Convention on Human Rights. So the government has already announced plans to restrict asylum seekers using the right to family life clause in the ECHR to avoid deportation to the UK. Now the Prime Minister urging fellow ECHR members to change the rules to make it easier for states to target people smuggling and set up return hubs to hold people who have no right to be in Europe talks ahead of Strasbourg. The Conservatives and Reform UK have called for the withdrawal from the ECHR altogether. This is absolutely outrageous because they basically want to say, F your human rights. It's not about the immigrants, it's about us taking our human rights away by doing that. So Keir Starmer is calling instead for the ECHR to be updated to confront challenges posed by mass migration. He argues in an article for the Guardian newspaper, that urgent reforms to the convention need to defeat the forces of hate and division, he says, are growing across Europe. Quote, listening to legitimate concerns and acting with them is what our policies is about, the PM wrote in a joint article with the Danish leader, Mette Frederiksen. That's not empty populism, it's democracy. We're determined to show that our societies can act with compassion while upholding law and order and fairness. Critics say the ECHR is getting in the way of removing illegal migrants, while supporters say claims about the ECHR in migrant cases are exaggerated. Yes, I agree with the latter. It is exaggerated. Like I said, it's not going to change the situation. The talks in Strasbourg are expected to cover difficult issues, including combining migrant smuggling, how to create human rights complaint return hub centres outside of Europe, where migrants could be forcibly housed if they cannot be returned to dangerous countries. So this is Europe's plan. Basically, people that they can't send back to their original countries is to send them to so-called return hubs. What kind of return? Where exactly are we sending them to? And are they going to be safe where they go back to? Probably not. Hundreds of youth services plan to reach isolated generations. The government is set to spend £500 million on youth services in England, saying the money is needed to revive the decimated centre. This is one big positive that the government is doing that I'm very keen on undoing what the Conservatives did. The Conservatives destroyed a lot of communities and youth community centres with their austerity programme. This is much, much needed. This is going to take time, but this will help a lot with community-based. And I think, you know, you've got to give the government credit that they're putting money towards the youth centres in England. This is credit where, you know, obviously how that money is spent is obviously important. But the fact that the government have set aside £500 million for youth services in England is a positive thing. Concentration camps, says Alex Adams. Yeah, just doesn't seem like something that the European Union would sign up to. But yeah, they wouldn't call out. But the thing is, the EU have never called out Israel for what they're doing as well. So it says here, over the next 4 years, the government aims to build or refurbish 250 youth centres as well as launch 50 new youth future hubs, which Labour says in its manifesto would be bringing together existing services under one roof. So by 2035, 500,000 young people will also be paired with youth workers, volunteers and other trusted adults to help them stay safe online and develop connections. The Conservatives said the outlook for the next generation is increasingly bleak under Labour, while the Liberal Democrats said the government has got to do much more. Yes, the government do need to do more, but this is a step in the right direction, guys. The announcement is part of the government's national youth strategy aimed at rebuilding youth services over the next decade. The 500 million will mostly be spent on children and young people aged 10 to 21, but some aged up to 25 with special education needs and disabilities will also be supported. That's good. Unveiling the plans, Lisa Landy said that young people are the most digitally connected, but also the most isolated generations. The challenges facing young people today are urgent and demand a major change in direction. For too long, youth policies have been an afterthought. This generation deserves better. I 100% agree with this. Nancy said spaces for young people have disappeared for parts of the country and warned they are retreating to their bedrooms where they spend a lot of time online. This is 100% true as well. The YMCA said the youth services needed long-term investment to fully recover. Spokesperson now, this is a good start repairing the damage, but elements are only a fraction of what was lost. The charity Youth UK called it a landmark moment. The government's own research shows that the stark reality young people have faced as vital support was stripped away. 15 years of cuts have left deep scars. This strategy is an important first step towards healing, but true recovery will be required sustained commitment, the UK's youth CEO Rosie Ferguson, OBE, has said. Yeah. It is a step in the right direction, and this is one positive that I'm very happy to hear. The Youth Future Hubs, it will be a base for youth workers and other professionals who will support young people, risks of harm and offer career development guidance. The first of the new hubs will be up and running by March 2026 in Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, County Durham, Nottingham, Bristol, Tower Hamlets, Brighton, and Hove. Yes, these are. I definitely would say these are probably the best place for these here. This is definitely much needed. Minister said the revamped youth centres will offer visitors somewhere to go and something meaningful for doing, someone who cares about their well-being. The Shadow Culture Secretary Nigel Hudson welcomed renewed investment. They said Labour's decision to scrap the National Citizen Service, part of the Big Society initiative launched by the then Prime Minister David Cameron, left more than 1 million young people without valuable opportunities. It did. Your party cut away youth services. You destroyed communities with your austerity plans. I'm not going to take any lectures from the Conservatives here. They divided communities. They destroyed communities by ripping so much money away with their austerity. I'm not going to take any lectures from them. They have no right to talk about, oh, well, they should have been doing this, this and that. No, they need to shut the F up. They cannot say anything, the Conservatives. I'm not going to hear anything from them. They destroyed so many people with their austerity. Lib Dem education spokesperson Miranda Wilson said the government must give children access to local service they deserve and reform the broken special needs system. Yes, I agree with this. This is something that needs to be tackled. It cannot continue to kick the can down the road. She said the future of thousands of vulnerable children is at stake. Yep. The local government association welcomed the announcement, but it said it needed to be backed with support for the workforce. Yeah. Look, I want to make this clear. Like, this is a positive, and let's take it as a positive. Like, even if people don't like, I'm not a fan of this Labour government, just as much as many of you guys are in the chat as well. But this is a positive that we need, because I've said that when there are good policies, regardless of whoever is in government, credit where credit is due, it is the start of something, yes. And I generally mean this, I really hope this turns out to be good for, I really hope this is the first step towards much more work being done here. Obviously, our youth services have been really, really badly damaged in England by the Conservatives. I can't speak for Wales or Scotland. I'm pretty sure Scotland is pretty much a lot more well looked after than they're probably the most looked after in the whole of the UK. I'm pretty certain of that. But for England, it's really suffered tremendously, and it is a step in the right direction. More needs to be done, yes, of course, but take the positives where they can, because we need this, guys. We do need this. Last I'll say, a lot of them bang on about one thing: immigration. Repeat the effing biased foreign press. These people are seriously draining, and yes, politics are ruining friendships. Yeah, politics do unfortunately ruin friendships there. I don't know what you said there, Philip, but welcome. Hope you're doing well. Alex Adams says, Regan, 100% right. My daughter is a youth worker and her group relies on grants to keep going. Yeah, those grants are really important. And I mean this sincerely. I generally mean this. Hats off to your daughter for working as being a youth worker. I cannot imagine. It's not an easy job in any way, shape or form. It must be extremely, I have no idea what it's like for them. But, fair play to your daughter for being in that area, because it's not easy. and it's very, very difficult. It can be very stressful at times. Of course, as well as mentally, got to have a strong mental mind to work in such an area as well because of the challenges that have. So, kudos to your daughter, Alex. I really mean that. But will they follow through with the promises? Just saying. That is true as well. That is true as well. Yes, there is money there, but how that money gets distributed to those hubs is also a good question there as well. Janet, you're absolutely right. Obviously, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But time will tell. It's going to take some time. And again, I know people want things done straight away, but we've got to take the positives where they can, guys. 13 Labour members vote for talks on joining the EU's customs union. I like there's pressure within the Labour government on that as well. Trump criticises decaying European countries and weak leaders. He can go fuck himself. Excuse my French. Nigel Farage meets French far-right leader in London. Okay. You're going to talk about your past there, Nigel? You're going to comment on it at all? No. Ex-children's boss to lead the grooming gangs inquiry. So, a former children's commissioner will chair the inquiry into child sexual abuse by grooming gangs in what is to be a moment of reckoning. Home Secretary Shabir Mohammed has announced. So, Baroness Annie Longfield will lead the inquiry, which was derailed when 4 women resigned from its survivors panel and 2 leading candidates to chair the investigation. Pulled out. The Home Secretary said we must rule out the evil once and for all. She told the Commons the peers would lead the 3-year inquiry. Yeah, a 3-year. So it's going to be a 3-year inquiry. I did say it's going to take a couple of years. The Prime Minister announced the inquiry for England and Wales in June after accepting recommendations of Baroness Louise Casey's audit into group-based child sexual abuse. On her appointment, Baroness Longfield said the inquiry owes it to the victims, survivors, and the wider public to identify the truth, address past failings, and ensure children and young people today are protected in the way that others were not. This better be the last bloody inquiry on this, and that actions are taken from this. Like, we've already had a blimmin' inquiry. This better be the last one, and it better cover what needs to be covered on this. It needs, because I'm getting kind of sick and tired of inquiries. I actually want to see action. This better be the last one on it. She added, the inquiry following the evidence and will not shy away from difficult and uncomfortable truths wherever we find them. I hope so. Baroness Longfield will be supported by panellists Zoe Billington, former inspector at HM Inspectors and Colsby of Fire and Rescue Service, and Elon Kerry, former chief executive of Southwark Council. This is very independent. I like this. Very independent. Mama said Baroness Longfield and the 2 panellists have been recommended by Baroness Casey following recent engagement with victims and would meet survivors later this week. This is good. Yeah, this is good. No connections to police or too much from politicians here from the looks of it here. This is very good. One of the survivors who quit the inquiry in October, Fiona Gollins, told the BBC that no one on the panel had any consultations about these candidates, signalling their involvement had been just a tick box exercise. She also criticised selection of Baroness Longfield, who was appointed to the House of Lords in January and will resign the Labour whip to chair the inquiry. Okay. Ms. Gore said the fact that they've chosen someone who's solely connected to a Labour government raised serious concerns about how impartial and independent the inquiry will be. Yeah. Look. I don't think it's fully I think I don't know enough about Baroness Longfield, but we need to get this going. It's been dragging on for too long. Who trusts BBC News? This goes. Go to Retros for international news. I'll use whatever news I'd like to, Philip, respectfully, yeah? Respectfully there. And yeah, I will continue to use BBC News like any other news outlet. Yeah? It's your choice whether you want to take the news I give you factual or not, guys. It's information I'm giving to you. It's your decision whether you want to take it on board or not. But I'm not going to change what I do on the Good Morning shows, respectfully. Another victim who wanted to remain anonymous told the BBC it was about time a chair was appointed, as she likened Baroness Longfield. But she added, what if nothing changes? You'll hear from these big inquiries that recommendations are made and not always implemented. Minimum wages should not go any higher. Baganots suggests. Well, you're a Wally. Absolute Wally. So look, generally I mean this, right? So she's saying that what minimum wages should not go higher, right? So How do you deal with the cost of living crisis? How do you deal with people who are on the low end of sticks, who are barely making it on the minimum wage, while also claiming entitlements and benefits in order to keep themselves going? If you're not going to increase the minimum wage to help these people, what are they supposed to do? And you can't just turn around and say to these people, oh, you just need to get a better job, or you need to get a second job, or you need to get a third job. Maybe you should work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Like, what is the solution here? I generally mean this, right? If minimum wage is not increased, what are these people supposed to do? Because it's so easy for someone in a position of power and money and influence, when you're a politician, a political leader of a party, when you've got so much going for yourself in your own life, to sit there and tell people, oh, the minimum wage shouldn't go up. Because you have no idea what it's like for the people on the wrong end of the stick, who are down in the low ends. This once again shows just how completely out of touch Kemi Badenoch is with the public. Completely out of touch. Because there are people literally on the minimum wage, and that is not enough for them. How many times have I talked about our energy bills are still going up? Rail fares are going up. Rail fares are being frozen, but I've been told that London tube fares and tube fares in London are going to be going up next year. Energy bills are going to go up again. Our council tax is going to go up. You know, broadband is probably going to go off. So, like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Like, there is not a solution unless you're going to put money physically into people's hands here. You're not going to solve the cost of living crisis. You can bang on all you want about immigration. You can bang on as much as you want about it. But if you're not going to help people get out of the slums that they're in, there's just a waste of time, Kemi. You're just a waste of time. You really, really are. I am not talking about Maddie McCann. I've had enough of talking about that story. I'm not talking about Meghan Markle. Thousands of flood defences below standard as storm Bran hit. Thousands of flood defences meant to protect multiple homes or businesses in England were well below the required conditions when the winter began, new analysis found. The 6,498 high consequence defences were among the 8,500 that were not fully working as intended due to erosion, damage, or being overgrown. Exclusive figures obtained by the BBC as of the 20th of October, almost 9% of the 98,000 defences inspected by Environment Agency were below condition. Now, some people, like, you can't pin this completely on the Labour government. It's fine, Philip. I respect your opinion. It's totally fine. Merry Christmas, Chip. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Like, you have to put a lot of this pinning on the Conservatives. Remember, because of the austerity that they've imposed, which meant that when it came to investment in the flood defences, they're not as high as they used to be. I don't know what the investment was like in these flood defences during the previous Labour government. I can't comment on that there. But it's something that the government needs to invest a lot more in. I know they said they put aside money for it. Despite data showing the scale of challenges facing the government repair efforts, the site ministers pledging $2.65 billion over 2 years to build and restore more than 1,000 flood defences across England. So that's the investment they're looking to put in flood defences across England in particular. Environment Agency said defence could still work correctly despite being in a poor condition. Well, it's not working, is it? We're investing at least $10.5 billion, largest program ever in flood defences. We will build new defences. More than 600 homes were evacuated in 2019 when River Steeping burst its banks near Welford, Lincolnshire. An official report found embankment constructed in 1968 had collapsed despite the Environment Agency being aware of its vulnerabilities. However, the BBC found high consequence flood defences were about 45% more likely to be failing than they were maintained by a third party than other environmental agencies. Yeah. That's very problematic there. Any other stories here from the BBC worth looking at? No. UK's asylum system hit by inefficiencies of waste funds, watchdog finds. Just got to keep an eye on the time, guys, just because we don't want to miss the start of Prime Minister's questions, which we will go into. And just a quick reminder, if anyone wants to contribute towards the Super Chat goal, which helps financially support me and it supports the Democratic Penguins Republic, you can do that, contribute there. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you can't contribute, just hitting the like button, sharing across social media, subscribing, all that good stuff would be greatly appreciated if you can, guys. Let's have a look at some of the stories from Al Jazeera. The DRC fighting forces forces 200,000 people to flee as the M23 advances, dozen killed. I thought Donald Trump said he solved the war here. Donald Trump said he solved the war here. Well, he obviously didn't. 200,000 people have fled their home in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo in recent days, the United Nations said, as Rwanda-backed rebels swarm a strategic challenge just days after the United States-led peace efforts, which now appears under severe threat. It's already broken. Trump failed. Just put it out there. Trump has failed. The M23 armed group pushed into and around the strategic city of Uvar in South Kivu province on Wednesday, local authorities said. It's part of a new offensive which at least 74 people have been killed, according to the UN. What are we doing with that country? I do feel, I've said this before and I've said this again, I really do feel for the people of Congo because, you know, it's not just because of the conflicts that they go, it's because of where they, geography-wise, and yeah, there's so many complications with that country, and I feel for them because they every day is a challenge for them, you know. For the problems that we have is literally nothing compared to what people in Congo have to go through, guys. I can't stress that enough. Like, they really go through hell. They do, some of those people. I really do feel for them. US aid cuts strand rural women's thinking maternity healthcare in Mawali there. The neck. They broke his neck. Families of Syrians disappeared still seek closure. At least 19 dead in the collapse of 2 buildings in Monaco. Oh, that's absolutely awful. Tents to merge, hundreds of thousands at risk in Gaza as the storm looms. What are we doing here? Living conditions remain dire as Gaza storm looms. Yeah, because Israel doesn't want to give anything to the people inside Gaza. We know that. We know that for sure. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. For some reason, I can't click the like button on it for some reason because it's broken. There we go. For Ollie. We'll do it for Ollie there. There we go. We'll do it for Ollie. That's Ollie there. Ollie said, thank you, Viper Scott. Ollie says there. Ollie is one of our custom emojis. If you're a YouTube member, thank you so much for that. And another £2 super chat for the DPR. For the DPR, for those who don't know who the DPR is, that is the Democratic Penguins Republic. That we help support the Democratic Penguins Republic from McDonald's Island, from the try to help them as much as we can from the evil Trump empire who were imposing tariffs on McDonald's Island on those innocent penguins who are facing torrid times from the Trump administration. Hopefully they will be freed at some point there. Thank you so much for those for the super chats. I've Scott, really appreciate it. Military transport plane crashes in war-torn Sudan, killing the crew, according to a report there. Thailand-Cambodia border clashes enters the third day as 500,000 flee the fighting. 500,000. It's the third day with cross-border shelling and air raids forcing more than 500,000 citizens to flee their homes and seek shelter, according to authorities. Officials from the two Southeast Asian neighbours on Wednesday also accused each other of restarting the conflict that has killed at least 13 soldiers and civilians so far. This weekend has led to more than 500,000 people from both sides of the border to evacuate for safety. Quote, more than 400,000 people have been moved to safe shelters across 7 provinces, Thailand's Ministry of Defence spokesperson told reporters at a news conference. Civilians have had to evacuate in large numbers due to what we assess as an immediate threat for their safety, he said. The Thai military also report that rocket fire from Cambodia had landed near their Phantom Dong Rak hospital in Suran on Wednesday morning, prompting patients and hospital staff to take cover in a bunker. In neighbouring Cambodia, 101,229 people have been evacuated to safe shelters and relatively home in 5 provinces, Cambodia's Ministry of National Defence spokesperson has said. Cambodians, a website operated by Cambodian Media Broadcasting Corporation, reported that Thai F-16 jets had attacked 2 areas in the country while Thai shelling continued in 3 other areas. Was this one of the pieces, Donald Trump, that you also put in as well, right? Thailand's Mexican online news portal also reported that the country's military had deployed F-16s to attack 1 Cambodian military target along the border this Wednesday morning. They're all smiles about it. Cambodia's rocket and artillery fire also targeted 12 frontline areas in 4 Thai provinces early in the morning, according to Thailand's The Nation's newspaper, citing military sources. There are no immediate reports of casualties. What are we doing here? What is the world doing here? What are we doing here, guys? We need to be doing more. We need to be doing more. Not good enough. Right, got about 9 minutes left before Prime Minister's questions. Going to go back and see what UK News is saying here. Should raise your membership to £5 a month. That's the average price YouTubers charge these days. I don't have... there's no reason for me to do that because it's... I wouldn't get enough members to justify the money, Philip, respectfully. And you know, I'm a low YouTuber. I don't get that many. In comparison to other YouTubers, I don't get that many viewers, to be fair. And also, this is not my only source of income. I have a wrestling page I make income from as well. So, but I appreciate the thought. Thank you. Oh, one more. Oh, thank you for the £2 super chat. Viper's got one more to hit the confetti. Yep, we're 3 out of 5 super chats there. Appreciate it. Let's have a look at Sky News and see what they're saying here, guys. Budget had too many leaks and decisions on tax rises taken with Starmart, says Reeves. PM issue warnings to European leaders ahead of the ECHR talks. Baganout talks twaddle. COVID scheme led to £11 billion worth of fraud and error. PM warns of a lost decade of kids there as well. What else they're saying here? Every now and then Sky News has an interesting exclusive as well. I started a family in Britain, but I'm willing to join a hotel protest, says Asylum Seeker. Kiki sought help rather than take her own life, but what she found on the journey shook her. Russia may exploit death of British soldier in Ukraine. Yeah, a British soldier died, I think it was yesterday, while training Ukrainian soldiers in one of the provinces in Ukraine. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, I believe. Unacceptable prostate supplement adverts have been banned. Whether a morning rains in place of Storm Brown continues to strike. Or Storm Dolly, as I called it yesterday. Storm Dolly. Named it after a cat here. Because I thought, why not? Let's have a look let's give a few more news articles, guys, while we still have a bit of time. Federal Reserve prepares to cut interest rates for the third time this year in the US. This is from NBC News, just for reference here. Trump tests his affordability measures in midterm battleground district. Influencer who rushed Ariana Grande is kicked out of Lady Gaga conference. I just want to point this out there. I hate these influencers who, what they do is they basically try to rush and get in front of a celebrity or whatnot just because. Like, what is the point? Like, what are you doing? You're just making yourself look like a fool, you know? Oh, look at me! I got Ariana Grande on my feed here while you're getting dragged away by security. Like, what's the point? Like, really? Federal Reserves, yep, we said that already. Democrats win Miami race, I doubt we talked about that already. At least 22 people killed in an office building fire in Indonesia's capital. Rod Page, the nation's first African-American Secretary of Education, dies at the age of 92. May he rest. Rod rest in peace. Peace Prize winner will not attend the ceremony on that. The Institute has said. Yeah, I covered that yesterday. Trump doesn't rule out troops in Venezuela as well. Thank you so much, Viper Scott, for the 5 gifted memberships to Martin Harrow, Maximilius, John O'Croft, Lee Korn, and Tim Ballon have all been gifted memberships there. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. People on TikTok doing their makeup and talking. Sorry, but that's a scroll. No matter the topics of melody there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Viper. It's very generous of you. I hate influencers too. Well, I am an influencer. I'm just not one that goes and runs and jumps in front of celebrities. There. Person, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. If I didn't, I don't know if that's your first comment on the chat today, but good to see you there. He says, thanks on behalf of citizens, Alistair and for Regan. I think the membership do help. It gets people to come in, listen and chat. It's all good. No, I like, of course I would like to earn more money, of course, but I'm also realistic about, I'm realistic about what I need to be realistic about what I can earn. I have to be realistic about it. I think it's fair. It's a fair point I want to make on that. But I totally get his point, because obviously, would like to earn more money like anybody else, but I also need to be realistic about my expectations. And also, we haven't even hit 2,500 subscribers yet, which we're a couple of subscribers off. But you know, I wanted to hit 3,000 this year, and I haven't done that. So I have to be realistic about the numbers. You know, if we ever get as much as like 10,000 or so, maybe things will change then. But it depends, guys. Any other interesting stories here? Netflix and Paramount battle over Warner Brothers Discovery. Touched on that yesterday's live stream. Dozens of boys. Yeah, I saw this story yesterday. I didn't really feel like covering it, but dozens of boys said they were sexually abused at a Christian scouting program. Fair play for NBC News for covering this story, because it's not something this kind of thing needs to be talked about more. You know, nobody likes talking about it, but people need to accept, that this kind of stuff happened in the past, and it needs to be called out, and it needs to be justice for those responsible. So, fair play for NBC for covering it, because it's not an easy thing to talk about. Any other interesting stories? Hikers rescued from quicksand after drone video spotted him struggling. Oh, thank God. Drone video spotted him struggling there. Poison from death cap mushrooms in California prompts foraging warning. Oh, God. We'll be careful there. Got about 2 minutes left. So let me just see if I can get the video ready for us. Yeah, PMQs is in a couple of minutes. Let me just get it ready. Just mute it. Okay, I've got it up. There. Right. Yeah, I've got about a minute or two, guys. So I'm just gonna switch things over in just a moment. Lump in to Prime Minister. I'm going to go into Prime Minister's questions in just a moment. It hasn't started officially yet. The Prime Minister has just sat down. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. So for those who were just here for the Good Morning Show, don't worry. If you guys don't want to stay here for Prime Minister's questions, you don't need to go anywhere. It's literally on the same live stream. We're just literally switching over to that, but we're still carrying this live stream, still carrying on. But if you guys aren't interested in Prime Minister's questions, and you're not interested in it all, that's fine as well. Appreciate you guys being here. But if you guys want to stay and listen in to Prime Minister's questions along with me and hear my thoughts, just hang around here. Appreciate it, you guys. Thank you again. Just to get the goal done, says Viper Scott, and confetti time. Got confetti. I don't have an animation like Graham has, but thank you so much, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat for reaching today's super chat goal. Woohoo! Thank you so much. That's very, very generous of you today. I really appreciate it. Got the things looking weird. I'm going to take this off, guys, and I'm going to get my headphones on here. It's going to start in just a moment. I'll switch it over just so you guys can have a look. Hasn't started just yet there, but we'll see what is going to be said here in a moment. Are we going? Oh, they're still doing more talking here. Yeah, some interesting stories this morning. As for while we just wait, guys. I don't know if I'm doing a Snowflake show with Lee Korn tonight, or I'm doing a watch along with just the normal watch along live stream tonight. If I do the Snowflake show, it's going to be very short notice because I'm going to have to put a lot of things together very, very quickly. I haven't heard from him, so I'll drop him a message and say if he's still doing it or not. If he doesn't respond, then I'll just plan as normal. I'll plan a normal live stream there, just for your reference here. But I do have some other stuff I need to get done today, as well as some short videos. Also, I want to remind you guys that tomorrow, myself, Jenny, Random Scottish History, and Wichigoff, the three of us will come together for a roundtable chat. Very much looking forward to that tomorrow night as well. So if you want to join us for that, feel free to do so as well.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Here we go. Prime Minister's questions.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House will join me in sending our deepest sympathy and condolences to the family and loved ones of Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment, who died yesterday in Ukraine. Lance Corporal Hooley was injured in a tragic accident away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces testing a new defensive capability. His life was full of courage and determination. He served our country with honour and distinction around the world in the cause of freedom and democracy, including as part of the small number of British personnel in Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, I place his name on record today to express our gratitude and respect and to affirm that his service will never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, on Monday I hosted President Zelensky, President Macron and Chancellor Merz in Downing Street. We must redouble our efforts. The UK, Europe and our allies will stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, stand up to Putin's aggression and work to deliver a just and lasting peace.
Will you stand up against Trump as well?
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Sir, all day.
Mr. Speaker, a couple in my constituency fled persecution from the Egyptian authorities, who accused them of being traitors and terrorists due to their work as professional journalists. They gained refugee status here in 2021 and are now 3 months away from being eligible for indefinite leave to remain. The UK is their home, but their stability and family life are being threatened by changes in government policy. I'm concerned that the government has lost sight of the real-life impact that these changes will have on working families living here legally, and with details of transitional arrangements still under consultation, can the Prime Minister provide clarity regarding the transitional support available to families already on the pathway to indefinite leave to remain? Thank you.
This is a great question, because what this does here is question the morality of the government's decision to change the way about families, or family rights here in the UK. Now, you know, I know this is the kind of tinkering around the immigration policy from the Labour government is trying to, you know, appeal to the right, but it's just not going to flush. It's not going to flush with reform Russian voters. It's just not going to flush with them.
Well, can I say this country will always be compassionate in relation to refugees and comply with our full obligations under the various conventions. It is important that we address some of the challenges we face at the moment, but we mustn't lose sight that we've always been a compassionate country that welcomes refugees to our shores.
Yep, and your response is, I'm not gonna answer that specific details.
Rachel Maskell.
Mr. Speaker, while the last government was indifferent to child poverty, this government's driving mission must be to eradicate child poverty, and the strategy is a first step on that path.
It's funny how you guys didn't mention anything about wanting to remove the two-child benefit cap, when you guys came into power. I wonder what changed since then, guys.
Over the first 1,001 critical days in pregnancy and early years, poverty contributes to malnourished babies, developmental delay, hypothermia and poor life outcomes. This is unacceptable. So will the Prime Minister lift pregnant women and babies out of poverty in York and across the country in this Parliament and ensure that we relieve poverty over the first 1,001 critical days?
Can I thank her for raising this? And I'm proud that babies born today will have a better start in life thanks to our decisions. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly concerned by maternity services, and that's why we've commissioned a review so every mother is heard, gets proper care at what should be a special time, and currently too many are failed. We're funding Healthy Babies services in 75 of the most deprived areas, and we've taken action to save parents up to £500 a year on infant formula. It is a moral mission of this government to lift children out of poverty, and we intend to do so. The Leader of the Opposition thinks that maternity pay is excessive and would go back to the failed one that puts hundreds of thousands of children into poverty.
Look, I just want to make this very clear here. You know, the fact that we still have so many food banks in England. I don't know how many food banks there are in Scotland and Wales, but we still have far too many food banks. We should not be a charity. We should not be relying so much on charities for people to get by. People should be able to stand and live and work on their own 2 feet and be able to have a decent home, be able to get basic needs, to be able to have a decent life of some sorts. And they're not going to get that while they continue to have and rely on food banks, rely on the entitlements to get by. Now, there are people out there who, understandably so, are in situations where they need those entitlements because they can't work. That's obviously a different factor here. But in terms of mothers and whatnot, We should be doing everything we can to help them get out of the situation that they're in. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, like with a lot of things, it takes time. And the problem is that at the moment I'm not seeing a plan to reduce. I'm not seeing a real action plan. Why I keep seeing this action plan about reducing child poverty and whatnot, right? You're hearing about this, the action plan from child poverty, right? Which is good, because we want to reduce child poverty. Obviously, it starts a 2-child benefit cap. But what are we doing to get people off food banks and actually being able to work and not have to rely on food banks, not having to rely on entitlements? What are we doing to make sure that they can have a decent life, live a decent life, and not to become a burden on the system, which many people feel that is the issue here? What are we doing to address that?
Kevin Baden, not the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, food banks are not correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I echo the sentiments of the Prime Minister? The thoughts of the whole House will rightly be with the family of Lance Corporal Hooley, who tragically died supporting Ukraine in her fight for freedom. Yeah. Can the right honourable gentleman tell the House why are his own MPs describing him as a caretaker Prime Minister?
Mr. Speaker, my own MPs are very proud. We've just passed a budget which protected our public services and our NHS. No austerity which brought our NHS to the ground. We've created the conditions for economic stability with the headroom we need. And Mr. Speaker, we're concentrating on the single most important issue for families up and down the country, which is the cost of living, by taking £150 off their energy bills. That's in addition to the £150 for the 6 million of the poorest household.
It's a start, but it's nowhere near enough.
We're concentrating on what matters to the country. She's trying to save her job.
Trying to save her job. Like, Keir, the polls are not on your side. And the local elections will say a lot about where this Labour government is going.
Mr. Speaker, let me answer the question for the Prime Minister. He's being called a caretaker because everyone can see that he's lost control of his party. And this lot, they're all so busy trying to replace him.
Order. Sorry? Can I just say the same people are making the same noises they made last week? I did say last week it wasn't the right time. I wouldn't do it this week. So please, let's not carry on with the way we left it last week. Kevin Baden.
Mr. Speaker, they can make as much noise as they like. We all know that this lot are so busy trying to replace him that they've taken their eyes off the ball. Let's start, Mr. Speaker. Wait for it. Let's start with the Energy Secretary, who wants to recycle himself as leader.
What?
He said he'd cut families' energy bills by £300. Can the Prime Minister tell the House how much have energy bills fallen by since the election?
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to say we're taking £150 off energy bills. I can also tell her that that's on top of the £150 we've taken off last year for the 3 million poorest families, now for 6 million poorest families. Mr. Speaker, she talks about leaving. The problem for us, last week,
What? Mr. May, I've told this side, I'll now tell this side. We don't need the pantomime auditions anymore, please.
But it's Christmas.
Mr. Speaker, last week I pointed out that 3 of her ex-MPs went to reform. That included the former Deputy Chairman, Jonathan Gullis. He liked to think of himself as a straight talker. He's finished and they've lost the trust of the British people. In total, Mr. Speaker, 21 ex-Tory MPs have now left for reform. The real question, Mr. Speaker, is who's next? We can all see the Shadow Justice Secretary twitching after his come and get me plea from the member of Clacton. Mr. Speaker, we need no lessons from them.
He's completely dodging the question.
Mr. Speaker,
there.
I asked him about energy bills. You could power the national grid on all of that hot air. He promised to cut energy bills by £300. Energy bills have risen by £187. But let's look at someone else who's making a mess. Let's look at the Education Secretary. Oh, there she is. Labour pledged to recruit 6,500 more teachers. So can the Prime Minister tell the House how many extra teachers are there since she became Education Secretary?
More than when they left office. I'm very proud to say so. We're in an upward trajectory. Mr. Speaker.
That's not a number, by the way. That's not a number. We're asking for numbers.
Mr. Speaker, they left our health service on its knees. They left our schools in a mess. They left our economy absolutely broken. They should be utterly ashamed of their record in service.
Look, there comes a time and a place where it's like, you know what, I've heard this story before. It's the Tories left this, the Tories left that. Kind of want some answers from this government. It's been more than a year and a half you've been in power. Just saying.
Wrong. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are now 400 fewer teachers since she came into office. She's shaking her head. It's on the DFE website. Does she not check it once in a while? I can understand that the Right Honourable Lady is angry. We're all angry at the mess she's making. The Prime Minister doesn't know what's going on in energy. He doesn't know what's going on in education. Does he know anything about what's going on in the Home Office? Last year, the Prime Minister promised to recruit 13,000 more police officers. How's that going?
Prime Minister.
3,000 more by the end of March, and we're rising on police numbers. Mr. Speaker, they left the Home Office. The criminal justice system is utterly broken.
I gotta put this out there, okay? Because, like, don't get me wrong, Kemi could be distorting the numbers, yeah, for all I know, right? But I just want to put this out there, right? Surely you know what the questions are coming, so surely you would have had prepared answers. And instead of actually answers, he's dodging the questions. It's not very good from his look.
Sir Brian Leveson has said on that. They lost control of our borders. They lost control of every single department. And she's obviously spent the morning rehearsing for the Liz Truss show. She's probably going to be the guest star next week. Both of them talking about how Liz Truss was 100% right. But what Liz Truss said was the Conservatives need to take... No, they don't want to hear it. The Conservatives need to take responsibility. The Conservatives need to take responsibility for their 14 years of failure. That was Liz Truss, their former leader. What? So perhaps she'll heed that, get up and say sorry.
What about... Oh God, I don't like that the Liz Truss show is being mentioned, that she's being mentioned here, because it's going to give some grievance for some people going out of their way to watch it, which, by the way, you shouldn't. I recommend watching Paint Dry. Is far more entertaining of your time than watching the Liz Truss show, okay? There's much better comedy out there, to be fair.
Wrong again. I asked him how many police officers. There are now 1,300 fewer officers than at the election. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if the Home Secretary wants his job, but I do read that she's having conversations with Tony Blair because he's already given up on the Prime Minister. Why don't we talk about the Health Secretary? Let's see how he's doing. We do know he definitely wants the job. He said he'd end the doctor strikes. So can the Prime Minister tell the House how many appointments have been lost to strike action since last July?
Mr. Speaker, they left the NHS an absolute mess, with the highest waiting lists on record and the lowest confidence in the NHS ever. The Health Secretary said he would do 2 million extra appointments. He hasn't done 2 or 3 or 4. He's done 5 million extra appointments. That is because we invested in the NHS. What did they do? Having broken it, they voted against that investment. They should hang their heads in shame.
You didn't answer the question. Second, the strikes, there are still doctor strikes taking place, which they haven't been resolved. Yes, you have resolved other strikes. I will accept that. And you're also allowing the continuation of more privatisation within our NHS by stealth by your health secretary, who is getting lobbied allegedly by American healthcare companies. So let's just put all that on the record just for reference.
Mr. Speaker, I asked him how many appointments have been lost to strike action. He doesn't know. Let me tell him. We have lost 93,000 appointments to strikes since the Health Secretary gave doctors a massive pay rise. It's the truth. I know they wouldn't know the truth if it punched them in the face, but I'm telling them the truth. It is no wonder that we read this morning that the former Deputy Prime Minister has said about the Health Secretary she'd rather stick pins in her eyes than be on his golden ticket.
Wow.
And Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister congratulates himself on 5 million extra appointments. In our last year of office, we delivered 6.5 million extra appointments. Under Labour, Mr. Speaker, everything is getting worse.
Look, let me just point this out there. Extra appointments, regardless of whether it's Labour and Conservatives, that's a positive thing. Okay, that is a positive thing. Let me just point that out there, okay? Regardless of who it is.
Jobs, bills, police numbers, teacher numbers, everything is getting worse. The Cabinet should be doing their own jobs.
Thank you, Charirat, for that. So they'll have the primary questions in advance, but not the supplements. But the supplements will be anticipated and briefings. Speaking notes will be included in his folder. Thank you for that, Charirat. I appreciate the feedback there, and good to see you there. Hope you're doing well.
What are they doing? They're trying to compete for the caretaker's job. The only person who doesn't want the Prime Minister's job is the Chancellor. She's just trying to cling on to her own. Isn't it time, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister admits that Labour isn't working?
Mr. Speaker, she's living proof you can say whatever you like when nobody is listening to anything you have to say. There's absolutely no substance. She's no credibility on the economy.
Yep.
She still believes that Liz Truss was 100% right. She wants to go back to austerity with £47 billion of cuts. She thinks the minimum wage should be frozen too high. She's got no credibility on foreign policy. She complains about trade deals she tried to get and we got. She says that we should stay at home and not attend NATO or the G7. On issue after issue, she's clinging on to reform. That's not leadership, it's weakness. No wonder so many are leaving her party. They know there's absolutely no reason to stay.
Regardless of what you think of Keir Starmer and Labour government, he's not wrong. And I've said this before and I've said this again. Like, the one sticking thing that will always stick to the Conservatives is that as long as you have the same bloody politicians who were in power in the last 14 years or in the last Conservative government, like, it's just going to stick in your head that these are the same people who drove everything down, who made our lives worse, and by the way, have never even apologised for it. You know, if it was I generally mean this. If the Conservatives, if it was a bunch of new faces of Conservatives on that shadow bench, the polls would be very different. They would be very different, regardless of how right wing they are. It would be in the eyes of the public. It would be seen as different. You know, in the eyes of the public, they would see the Conservatives a little bit different, just on the basis that there's new faces there and not the same bloody lot that they put up with for 14 years. And fresh faces are a really good thing, yeah, especially after you've been kicked out of government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of families are moving into new estates only to discover that basic infrastructure, roads, drains and sewers remain in limbo, unadopted by public authorities. In mid-Cheshire alone, 4,700 households, more than 12% of all properties in the constituency, face this uncertainty with no guarantee over maintenance, safety and future costs, often years after developers have walked away. Can the Prime Minister say what steps he will take to make adoption timely and enforceable so homeowners are not left carrying the burden of unfinished infrastructure?
Well, I thank him for raising this serious issue for his constituents and over 1.7 million homeowners across the country who are left at the mercy of unfair costs and poor management. I can confirm we're consulting on reforming this system to reduce private management of these estates and to protect more homeowners from unfair charges. That's a vital part of our leasehold reforms to protect homeowners from high cost and make sure everyone has the amenities that they need.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in offering our condolences to the family and friends of Lance Corporal George Hooley, who died on duty in Ukraine? Our thoughts and prayers are with them. Can I congratulate Glastonbury's Lando Norris on becoming the 11th British driver to win the Formula One World Championship. And also everyone at McLaren's in Woking who powered him to the title. Mr. Speaker, President Trump's new national security strategy is a deeply alarming document. Quite apart from the irony of President Trump accusing others of trampling on basic principles of democracy, it repeats far-right tropes of civilizational erasure and threatens that the US government will cultivate resistance in Europe. No wonder Vladimir Putin has welcomed that strategy. So will the Prime Minister pick up the phone and make it clear to President Trump that any attempts to interfere with our democracy are totally unacceptable?
I'm not sure that's how I would put the question, but because he's clearly not going to say yes, he will. But I'm glad this has been raised in the House here about the severity of that national security strategy, because it is indeed very frightening indeed.
Can I join him in congratulating Lando for the incredible win? I went down to Woking on Monday to see some of the team at McLaren, and they're all wearing the pride that brought with them. On the question of Europe and President Trump's comments, what I see is a strong Europe, united behind Ukraine and united behind our long-standing values of freedom and democracy, and I will always stand up for those values and those freedoms.
Ed David.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear about standing up to President Trump. And if we're going to stand up to President Trump, we do need to strengthen our ties with Europe, not just on defence, but on the economy too. And the truth is, this government will not succeed unless it gets our economy growing strongly again. And the best way to do that is a customs union with Europe. The Prime Minister's chief economic advisor knows it. The Deputy Prime Minister knows it. And yesterday, the Labour chair of the Treasury Select Committee showed she knows it too when she backed our bill. Does the Prime Minister fear that if he keeps opposing a customs union, in 12 months' time, he will not be standing there?
I don't think that's... Look, look, trying to push this needle of a customs union, right? I really want to make this clear, okay? We're not going to be going into a customs union or any kind of thing like that with the EU if the next government is going to be a reform or a conservative one that will pull us straight out of it. There is no point in doing that unless we get an overwhelming majority of the public behind, and as well as getting a majority of politicians behind it. It's not like, I know that is the way. We know the path. The path to redemption is joining the European Union, joining the single market customs union, all that stuff. Like, we have to be realistic about our current situation, and the realistically is that not everyone is on board of rejoining Brexit, of undoing Brexit. Not everyone is on board on rejoining the single market and customs union. Not everyone is on board with rejoining the European Union. That is the sheer reality. The only way to do that is not through the Conservatives and the Reform. It's by getting more of the public on board of it. The more the public back it, the stronger it will be, and it will force political parties to change their views on it. That is the way to do it.
Mr. Speaker, we have got a close relationship with the EU through our reset earlier this year. And yes, I do want a closer relationship than the one we've got at the moment. We are moving towards that. We do have manifesto commitments on issues such as single market, customs union and freedom of movement. But I would gently point this out, that having now done significant trade deals with other countries, including the US and India, which are hugely important to the JLR workforce and on pharma, it is not now sensible to unravel what is effectively the best deal with the US that any country has got.
But the GDP from those trade deals are nothing in comparison to what we were getting when we were part of the EU.
Susan Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Working in NHS, I saw the consequences of Tory underinvestment in our health service. I welcome the progress under this Labour government, falling waiting lists, higher patient satisfaction with the general practice, and the rollout of neighbourhood health centres announced in the budget. I thank the frontline staff, including in mental health and community services, for all their hard work, and I am especially grateful to all the staff at the William Harvey Hospital in Ashford who turned up to work during the last BMA-led resident doctor strike and ensured that so many planned appointments went ahead. With rising hospital admissions because of flu and increased demand on A&E services, does the Prime Minister agree that the BMA should call off their next planned strike and instead work with the government to find a solution?
Mr. Speaker is right. Waiting lists are falling with over 5 million extra appointments. More people are being seen within 18 weeks, and we've hired 2,600 new GPs. That's real progress thanks to the hard work of NHS staff, backed by our record investment. I do think the strikes are unjustified, and they threaten that hard-won progress, and the focus should always be on patients.
Sybil Roberts.
He just said, the Prime Minister, that he wanted a closer relationship with Europe, but then referenced the Labour Party manifesto. Wales has been hardest hit by Brexit. Exports are down by a third. When will he admit that the only solution to the chaos imposed by Brexit is to rejoin the customs union and the single market, or is he too afraid of what his party might say?
Very powerful.
Mr. Speaker, I went to Solihull to see the JLR workforce before we got the deal with President Trump. They were worried sick that they were going to lose their jobs, and that would be a loss for them, their families and their communities. I took the call from President Trump when we got the deal in Solihull in JLR, so the first people I could tell were the workforce, who knew very well that that meant their jobs were safeguarded. We've also just done a deal on pharma, which is the first of its kind in the world and the best of its kind in the world. It is not sensible or fair to the JLR workforce or to the pharma sector to say, having achieved those things now, we should unravel them by discussion about a customs union. I just don't think it's a sensible way to take our country forward.
You're not taking the country forward, you're taking it backwards. You're driving a wedge between us and Europe. Yeah, for doing so. The reality is, like, look, I have to mention this. The reality is that if this government said we're going to join rejoin the single market and customs union, it would get undone by the next election. It would get undone because they are the clock is ticking on this Labour government. If they held power at the next general election, if there was a certainty that they would hold power at the general election, maybe my position would be a little bit different. But right now, they are not favourable by the public. They are just not favourable. And if they came out and announced it, would it swing more voters in their favour? Maybe. But would it be enough for them to maintain power? I don't know. But we're talking about ifs and buts here.
Justine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of the almost 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, hundreds of thousands are disconnected from the system entirely. Youth workers have a unique ability to bridge young people into support. I wouldn't be stood here today if I hadn't been supported by a youth worker called Russell when I dropped out of school. So will the Prime Minister use the National Youth Strategy to deliver a shared long-term vision for young people's outcomes, with good work as a central pillar and youth workers and trusted adults at its heart?
Well, I thank him for his question. The party opposite presided over a lost decade for our young people. I'm determined to support every young person to reach their potential. That's why we're delivering the first national youth strategy for 15 years to transform youth services, backed by over £500 million. Mr. Speaker, that means more youth workers, more youth centres and a network of 50 young future hubs. That's on top of our youth job guarantee and our plan to create 50,000 more apprenticeships. We're building a Britain for the next generation.
I hope it works out. Really do.
Mr. Speaker, over the coming weeks, millions of people from across the country will be visiting their local church. Churches are the custodians of our history and do enormous good. But in January, the government announced a £19 million cut to the listed places of worship grant account, as well as putting a cap on the repair cost. This cut puts thousands of local churches at risk. And I say to the Prime Minister, if we lose our churches, we lose the very soul and essence of our communities. So as we go into Christmas, will the Prime Minister do the right thing? He has 10 at risk in his own constituency. Will he reconsider this policy so that we can save our churches?
I don't know enough about this policy, but let me make something clear here. While churches do hold a valuable place in communities, and I'm not dismissing that in any way, shape or form, they are not the only thing that commemorates to part of communities. Now, not every community relies on the church, but if what he is saying is true, which I do not know, so I cannot comment on that, then the government should not be cutting funding for them with that regard.
Mr. Speaker, we do support our churches and the work that those within our churches do, particularly in the lead up to Christmas, and I've got a reception for them in Downing Street this very afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before May's election, Reform in Kent promised that they would improve services and cut taxes. Instead, vital services to older people and those with a mental health condition provided by great organisations like Imago and Involve is to be cut, and taxes are going up. Would the Prime Minister agree with me on two things? That given the additional money for the county through the Fair Funding Review, it's beyond belief that Kent are cutting services that vulnerable people rely on, and that their so-called Doge unit, that we were told would eliminate waste, actually stands for deluded, overconfident, gormless and embarrassing.
Well, it sums up very well how his community have been utterly let down by Reform. Whilst the member for Clacton is making excuses about his behaviour at school, look at what his party are doing across the country. Chaos in Kent. In Hampshire, their mayoral candidate says the Deputy Prime Minister, a black British man born in this country, should go back to the Caribbean.
Wow.
In Staffordshire, Reform's leader has been exposed as a white supremacist. It's not a coincidence, Mr. Speaker, because chaos and division is a member of Clacton's life work.
Well done for the Prime Minister calling this out. I'm very glad. This is kind of stuff, when people hear this is infuriating. It's so infuriating. I'm glad he points this out. And that man with the screwy shame, that's anger. And I just can't blame the anger from some people to hear some of that. It's outrageous that Reform are not taking enough action on here. It really isn't.
We're a house.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Bath, parents of children with special educational needs, often very complex needs, are crying out for special school places. Funding to build a brand new special school at that Culver Hayes site in Bath was secured, but the government has frozen the funding for almost 18 months without any explanation, leaving many families in the lurch. How much longer do families and children with special educational needs have to wait for this vital new school?
Well, I thank you for raising this, and we are working closely with local authorities on plans for special and alternative provision-free schools. We are keen to progress this, and I'll make sure that ministers update her in her particular case. But we are determined to fix the SEND system that fails parents and fails children, and that's why we've launched a national conversation to put families at the heart of the lasting reform. We've already put money into extra new places, a language support, and Best Start family hubs being rolled out across every area from April.
I really hope they are doing this with the best interest of the children at heart, but I'm very, very sceptical of this government and what they're doing with special education needs based on what I've looked at so far. Jal, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Guys, do check out Jal's YouTube channel as well, one of our moderators. I'm pretty sure he'll does some great stuff on his channel as well, guys.
Christine Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Blackburn, West Lothian, St Kentigern's Academy was part demolished due to wrack and is being rebuilt, costing £35 million. West Lothian Council found £20 million from its own stretched budget, but despite repeated pleas to the Scottish Cabinet Secretary for Education, who called it the most deserving case, funding has not been delivered. Will the Prime Minister back my call for the Scottish Government to urgently fund the 15 million shortfall and raise it with the First Minister in their next meeting?
Well, can I thank her, because she's fought for her constituents on this issue for years, and meanwhile decades of SNP cuts and broken promises have left schools crumbling. Mr Speaker, what a contrast. By the end of this Parliament, every school in England will either be rack-free or we will rebuild them entirely.
That I don't buy that for a second, but I'll tell you what. You know what? If that has happened, I'll be impressed. I don't expect that to happen, but we'll see.
Delivered the largest settlement for the Scottish Government in the history of devolution. So the question for the SNP is, after decades of decline, what is their excuse?
Dr. Luke Evans.
Mr Speaker, I feel for the Prime Minister. It must be tough wherever he goes in the UK because of his policies. A pub, higher taxes. A restaurant, higher taxes. A cafe, higher taxes. A farm, higher taxes. A GP, higher taxes. A care home, higher taxes. A hospice, higher taxes. So, Mr Speaker, is this the reason the Prime Minister chooses to spend so much time out of this country?
What a waste of a question and a waste of time. You absolute wally. Could you have asked something a bit more interesting? Yeah, I know. Like, you're asking the Prime Minister a Scottish question on something that should be discussed in Scottish Parliament. Like it's nothing. Like it's all it is an excuse to bash the SNP. I know.
What a load of nonsense, Mr. Speaker.
It is a load of nonsense. I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker,
You're asking a pointless question. Like it's just a waste of time. Like there are much better questions than the one he's asked.
Are at a critical stage in progress in Ukraine that will affect Ukraine's sovereignty, the whole of Europe, and the values that we hold dear. We are part of one of the leading countries to strengthen NATO at a vital time for defence and security in Europe. And we've secured trade deals that they tried for years to achieve, but never did because of our international engagement. And we've got better relations with the EU, all of which is good for our country. Ridiculous question.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The video games company Rockstar in my constituency last month fired 31 employees without providing evidence or union representation. The IWGB alleges union busting. Having met Rockstar, they failed to reassure me they are following employment law, and I share concerns about union busting. Given this government is responsible for the biggest increase in workers' rights in a generation, does the Prime Minister agree all companies, regardless of profit size, must follow UK employment law, and all workers have the right to join a union?
That's very interesting indeed. I was not aware of Rockstar doing that, but that's very concerning indeed. And what's also quite concerning is that they have consistently delayed the next Grand Theft Auto game as something that many people have been getting fed up of the consistent delays of as well. So they've laid off workers there. That's definitely raised some questions about them. I mean, Rockstar is one of the biggest video game franchises, one of the biggest video game franchises out there, without a doubt. But I don't know the full context of that story, but it's certainly it does definitely raise questions about people letting go. But the other thing is as well, just in terms of the video game industry, I miss playing video games. I don't play as much as I used to because I'm so busy. You know, there will be a lot of things where they'll use more artificial intelligence rather than the human mind on some things as well. So there is going to be that path as well when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Well, it's a deeply concerning case. Every worker has the right to join a trade union, and we're determined to strengthen workers' rights and ensure they don't face unfair consequences for being part of a union. Ministers will look into the particular case that he raises and keep him updated.
Good.
Blake Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Digital ID is intrusive and fundamentally un-British. The government has no mandate for it. No sensible person believes it will tackle illegal immigration or illegal working. It's an attack on our open society and a staggering waste of taxpayers' money, isn't it?
Look, here's what I'll say about the digital ID scheme, all right? There's a time and a place to have a serious conversation about it. Now is not the time. There's too much volatility in the general public, and it's being weaponized as well. The problem is that people's privacies are being... there's a fear of people's privacies being infringed upon in terms of this digital ID scheme. It's not a good idea. And as far as tackling illegal, like, black markets and migration, people working in the black market and whatnot, it does F all to it. It doesn't do anything to it because all people have to do is simply cash in hand. So as long as we have a cash in society as well, you're not going to stop it with digital ID. It does absolutely nothing there. The gaming thing is to release a game every year, no matter how bad it is. That's Call of Duty. That's Call of Duty in a nutshell, Philip. This was a few weeks ago. There's been demonstrations outside the Edinburgh and London offices. This is Mark Leese as well. Thank you for sharing that, Mark. I appreciate that. I've not been keeping up with the video game industry for a long time, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that information, guys.
Digital ID has huge benefits, as many countries in Europe are already demonstrating. And where they failed on our borders, we're taking control of our borders, and I'm proud that we're doing so.
Jenny Riddle-Carpenter.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister will know that SEND is in crisis across the country, but it's in particular crisis in Suffolk, where the County Council is in special measures for its failings. I'm delighted that the Government has listened to one of my asks, which is to have a national conversation about SEND, so parents, young people and their advocates can have their voices heard. Will the Prime Minister back my call to make sure that we deliver the funding for the former Saxmundham Set School in Saxmundham that closed its doors for the last time in 2024?
Can I thank her? I know she's a dedicated campaigner on this issue, and I'll make sure ministers update her on the latest progress in her constituency. Our ambition is to make sure all children with SEND have access to the right support. That's why we're working closely with local authorities to deliver places where they're needed most.
Sarah Boo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government is always talking about the fair choices that it has made. But is it a fair choice to balloon the benefits bill? Is it a fair choice to introduce an unfunded and unwanted digital ID that will cost the public billions? And is it a fair choice to increase taxes on working people when the promise was not to? The answer, Mr. Speaker, is no.
So why are you even asking a question if you've answered the question yourself, you silly person?
Can I ask the Prime Minister to consider one final... So can I ask the Prime Minister to give one final fair choice, thinking of food security and to avoid devastation for families across the country and reverse the family farm tax?
I do think, he should hold on the family farm tax and consult more with farmers on that issue, because I don't think they've been delegating enough with the farmers' unions on that issue. That is something that I will agree with her on.
Mr. Speaker, welfare ballooned on their watch.
Welfare is going to balloon whether you like it or not. That's something you cannot change.
When the Shadow Chancellor was responsible for welfare, it ballooned by £33 billion. They left a £22 billion black hole. The OBR reviewed and said they added £16 billion to that. We'll take no lecture from them on the economy.
Yep, that's true. Unquiet Badger, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well.
Final question, Carl Turner.
All right, last question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's no denying that this government inherited a crisis in our criminal courts, with the number of cases waiting to be tried growing every single day. So if the Justice Secretary plan to do away with jury trials in some cases, not all, in some cases, is really about addressing the backlog and getting the position to something manageable, then why isn't there a sunset clause? And why has that been ruled out?
Interesting.
Well, he's absolutely right to draw attention to the crisis in our courts. Yes, he says. Sir Brian Leveson is one of our most respected senior judges. He did an independent report, and he made clear that we risk, in his words, total collapse of the criminal justice system without change. That That is what they're chuntering at. That is what they left. A system near total collapse, where victims of sexual violence and rape wait years to get justice. That is not justice, that is victims failed. I can reassure him, and I know he feels very strongly on this, that juries will remain a cornerstone of our justice system for the most serious cases.
It's not going to fix the issue. Literally, it's not going to fix the issue. Look, I just want to make this very clear, okay? There was a Baroness who spoke on BBC, I think it was the BBC or Sky News last week. We covered it on last week's on the watch along, right? It's not going to make a bloody difference to the situation in the justice system. The solution is investment. That is the solution. The only solution to the criminal justice system is investment. You have to put money into the system. You can't just cut corners on it. Yeah, and the whole juggling around the jury service thing is not going to fix this issue. We've covered this we talked about this extensively literally last week. It's not going to fix the issue. And there's going to be cases where a jury service are much better at making that decision than a single judge as well. I'm not happy, guys. I'm not happy with the changes that are coming to the justice system. The solution is investment, but clearly not enough investment is being done about this. It's very frustrating indeed. As for Prime Minister's questions overall, I thought most of the questions were okay. There were some very important questions there. I thought Kemi Baganot's was, while they were numbers and statistics, the Prime Minister didn't have answers to them, so it did make Keir at times look a bit weak. Yes, Chatty Rat pointed out that obviously he wasn't expecting the direct numbers quotas, perhaps, on that. But he could have given rough estimates of them. He could have done, but maybe that would have played into her hands maybe as well, possibly there. I thought Ed Davies' questions were important, but I think the way he put them across was not ideal as well. We didn't hear from the SNP. We didn't hear from the Greens. We didn't hear from Reform. We only heard from a few Liberal Democrats and mainly the Conservatives as well there. But there was some very important questions. Just before I head out, guys, I just want to remind you guys, I will be going live tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm probably going to be doing the Watch Along show, probably instead of the Snowflake show, just because I haven't heard from Lee Korn. So on that, guys, on there. But there will be a live stream tonight at 8 o'clock. That is certain. There will not be a Prime Minister's questions next week from me, as there'll be no live streams at all next week, Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday there'll be no live streams, and I'll explain on Friday what's going on there. So if you guys want to join me tonight at 8 o'clock, it'd be very, very much appreciated. But thank you guys, everyone who came along for the good morning and been here all the way to the end of this live stream. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the gifted memberships and super chats. I really, really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you guys are doing. I'm going to go and have lunch, and then I've got other work to crack on with, guys. But before I go, if you can, for me, please hit the like button, share this across social media, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms as well. If you're on Twitch, hit the follow button, hit the bell notification icon as well, so you'll be notified of when I go live on there as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.